Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on Facebook. And if you're like a lot of us, quarantine may have not been good for your waistline. Some people are calling it the COVID-15, but it's not too late to shed the weight you gained plus more. Joining me now is Dr. Kusher from Compass Fat Loss. Good to see you, Dr. Kusher.
Great to see you on COVID-15 if you're lucky, you know?
I think I made it to like the COVID-10 and then I started to shed it a little bit.
Yeah, well, we want to get it to COVID-0. I'm doing great. Nice to see you.
You as well. So you help a lot of people shed that unwanted weight and get healthy. Today we're talking about metabolic flexibility. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, to the general public, it may be a little known term, but if you kind of liken it to driving a hybrid vehicle, that can run on gas or it can run on electricity. And if you kind of make an analogy between the way that your body functions and the way that your vehicle functions, the vehicle will run on electricity, but when it needs gas, it can flip over and make that transition almost automatically like that. And that's the way your body's supposed to run too in a perfect world. So somebody with good metabolic flexibility will be able to switch over from using carbohydrates or sugar for fuel to fats for fuel in a heartbeat. Somebody that has very poor metabolic flexibility has a very hard time doing that. So it causes them to run into not only weight issues, but a lot of health issues as well.
What are some of the risks of being metabolically inflexible?
There's a lot of them, and they're kind of additive. So if you have inflexibility in your metabolism, it's going to, number one, from a weight perspective, it's going to make it very difficult to burn fat and very easy to store fat. So that's obviously the direction we don't want to take. But it also can lead to things like, first of all, insulin resistance, which viewers may have heard of, which again makes your body resistant to insulin and can't bring sugar into the cells for energy. And that causes your pancreas to put out more and more insulin to try to overcome that, which will eventually take you to the point of prediabetes and then diabetes and all those things that follow that we don't even want to talk about, the eyesight problems, the kidney problems, the cardiovascular problems, the amputations that diabetes has in the long term. So it may seem innocuous at the beginning, but it can really lead to some serious health risks.
And obviously this would apply to weight loss and affect a person's weight loss.
It really does. If you have metabolic inflexibility, again, it makes it very difficult to access stored fat and burn it. And it makes it very easy for patients to take sugar in their bloodstream and store it as fat because muscle tissue and others can't use it very well. So, we look at that very early in the process. If a patient hits a plateau or doesn't make progress like we expect them to, we look at insulin sensitivity and resistance and metabolic flexibility through lab work very early in the process when we have to. And you can do all the things right. And if you're metabolically inflexible, you're going to have a hard time losing weight no matter what.
But hope isn't lost. People can come to you, can go to Compass Fat Loss. How do you address this?
In a number of ways. There are dietary changes that we make so we can alter patients' relationship between different macronutrients. We can go very, very low on high glycemic carbs like sugars and baked goods and starches and things like that and replace those calories with some healthy fats like avocados and olive oil and coconut oil and olives themselves. So we need to change the mix of what the patient's intake is in order to get their metabolic flexibility to improve and their insulin resistance to come down so we can have much better results in the weight loss game.
Now,
in addition to that, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's great.
We don't want patients to have to make a sacrifice that's going to be long-term. So in our practice, we've come up with alternatives that give patients kind of the satisfaction of eating baked goods and some sweets that are made so they don't have net carbs that are going to impact this process negatively, but they still overcome those cravings that can often come along with dieting and they won't experience those.
So are there specific products that you use at Compass Fat Loss with this in mind?
Well, there are. I mean, the cornerstone is to get the metabolism changed over within the first 6 week period. And we use a number of different proprietary supplements to do that. And, down the road from a dietary perspective, we use things like smart buns and smart cakes and stuff that tastes really good, but doesn't have the negative impact. And maybe one of the most important things is that, we've been talking about this forever. We monitor patients very, very closely every single day. So our whole system is built on a proprietary hardware software platform to the point where a patient basically just needs to get up in the morning, get on the scale that we provide them, and all of their numbers, not just their weight, but all their health risks get transmitted to their phone so they can track it. And at the very same time, it gets transmitted to my dashboard so I can follow progress in real time without ever seeing a patient in the office. And yeah, this is great for COVID because, don't have to travel to an office and sit in a waiting room with other patients. But we implemented this about 2 years ago, and it has been extremely well adopted and successful by patients, and we don't miss a beat.
And I think a lot of people, when they're struggling to lose weight, accountability is just so important, and it really keeps them in check. And you really follow along with your patients and help them with anything that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a robust messaging system within the apps that we use. So we get messages and we respond to them super quickly. When a patient gets to goal weight, we continue to monitor them after that to make sure that they stay within a very tight range and they don't gain their weight back like they do on other programs. So, the health risks and the health optimization is the most important thing to me for longevity and health. The weight loss is almost a side effect, but when we get there, we want to make darn sure that we stay there.
And there's hope. It's never too late to make a change.
No. We have patients, we have teenagers in here, and we have patients in their 80s that do great too. And it runs the gamut. So the program will help everybody. Some lose slower than others, obviously, depending upon their starting point, gender, things like that. But we have about a 98% success rate. And the 2% that don't succeed are the ones that disappear and never see us again for some reason. Who knows?
For some reason, right?
Right.
Now, this is not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. If you're ready to get healthy, Dr. Kusher is there to help. Just go to compassfatloss.com. Dr. Kusher, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure. Stay safe.
You too.